In episode 4, you find out what happened the night Ben died. The kids went on a mission and they were told very specific instructions by Reginald, which Luther planned on following. But Ben, who didn't want to go on the mission, didn't give a rat's ass what Reginald said. So when he heard someone talking from a container, curiosity got the best of him. He opened it up and he saw a girl there, and it was Jennifer. And even though Luther warned him, hey, this isn't what Dad told us to do, Ben wasn't about to listen, so he let Jennifer out. And that's when he and Jennifer were shot by Reginald Hargraves. When Allison, Luther, and Victor find out the truth, they lose it on Reginald, but he reminds them, I'm another timeline's Reginald. The Reginald you're actually mad with is not me. But that doesn't mean Reginald disagrees with the decision of the other timeline's Reginald. He actually defends it, saying if these two kids were left to their own devices, they would have destroyed the world. But as the kids get more and more mad at the Reginald in front of them, Abigail steps up and says, it's not his fault, it's mine. She explains that she created Marigold, but unbeknownst to her, at the exact same time, another element was formed. It's called Durango. When Marigold and Durango interact, it causes a reaction. A physical, unstoppable reaction. The extinction of everything they know, aka the Clense. By the time she realized this, it was too late for her own world. Now, why this is important is because Durango is inside Jennifer. And if they come in contact with Jennifer, stop me if you've heard this one before, they're going to end the world. That's kind of an issue considering Luther let Ben go to find Jennifer, which Ben has done. He and Jennifer acknowledge they do have some kind of connection. But as Luther explains to the group what he saw on Ben, aka the rash, Reginald gets sick of listening to it, so he grabs a rifle because he's planning on hunting either Ben or Jennifer and killing one of them. Everybody pushes Reginald back on this idea, including Abigail, but Reginald only sees one path to victory on this, and it gets to the point where Allison throws something at his head and says, I don't think you're listening clearly, you're not in charge anymore. But that pales in comparison to what Victor does. She unleashes all that pent-up frustration right onto him, flat out telling him that he won't be killing anybody, but also, well, he's got some daddy issues. He only stops when Abigail comes over and gently touches his shoulder. This does work, though. Reginald realizes he's going to have to come up with some other plan. But then he gets word on what Ben did at the farm, and they all head over there. As they're admiring Ben's handiwork, they do learn who the farm belongs to, which gives them a lead. Lila decides to pull number 5 aside and asks, why don't we just use that train of yours and go back in time, stop the coming Armageddon? We'll just travel back to the original Jennifer incident and stop your Ben from ever touching that Jen. 5 gives a bunch of excuses on why this would never work, but Lila brings up a good point. It's worth a try. So 5 gives in. Before they leave for this train station, Diego does pull Lila aside and has to have a conversation with her about what she said before Reginald flipped a switch. There's a lot of marriage drama. She tells him where she's coming from on this, and then she leaves him standing there bewildered. While Lila was giving the tough news to Diego, number 5's boss from the CIA comes and gets an update on what exactly is going on. He's not happy. 5 tells him that he does have a few leads on what happened at this farm, but he needs a favor. He points to both Diego and Luther. He explains that they're his brothers, and they're kind of getting in his way. So he asks his boss to take him back to headquarters and basically babysit him, which, reluctantly, the boss does agree to. When Diego and Luther arrive at the CIA, well, at least Diego thinks that this could be a job interview. They have no idea what the actual intention of this tour is. This frees up number 5 and Lila to go time traveling a bit. Number 5's plan is to go one stop on the train, go to the Apocalypse timeline, and then warp back to 2006. When they get down to the train station, though, Lila notices that there's a map just sitting on the bench, so she decides to grab it, and they take the train. They get up to the Apocalypse timeline, they warp back to 2006, but there's one slight issue. They don't encounter the Umbrella Academy or the Sparrow Academy. They encounter the Phoenix Academy. Although the Phoenix Academy does have members of both the Umbrella and Sparrow Academy. Nonetheless, it is the wrong academy. They're in the wrong timeline, and number 5 and Lila have to get the hell out of there before they're killed. Lila starts trying to figure out exactly how to get to where they need to go by reading the map, but she can't. And 5 isn't about to wait for her, so he just hops on the next train. but it wasn't the train they needed. And number 5 and Lila are on an express train. Where they're headed, they have no idea. While those two were train hopping, Victor pulled Reginald aside and told him, "I can save Ben." When he gets him alone, he explains how he can take out Ben's marigold, which Reginald doesn't think is possible. But Victor says, "I've done it before." This spurs on a conversation of why Victor would even want to do it, and he explains how Ben is his brother, which Reginald doesn't understand. Reginald thinking this is a meaningless connection, Victor explaining how siblings are a pain in your ass, but when you need them, they'll always be there for you. The conversation ends with Victor telling Reginald off for being an asshole and leaving. As for Allison, she had to head home. She found out exactly what Klaus did and mainly what he did to Claire. She was concerned. What Claire can't understand is why Allison keeps giving second, third, fourth chances to Klaus, why she allows this kind of behavior. And as Allison defends it, Claire just stops her and says, "Uncle Klaus is invincible. So why do you keep trying to save somebody who can literally save themselves?" This likely means that Allison is no longer searching for Klaus, and it would be tough to find him anyway. Quinn has him locked up, and the way he's utilizing Klaus's skills is he's having Klaus be a medium, but a sex medium. If your husband or wife passed away, you come to Klaus, the deceased takes over his body, and you can once again have sex with your deceased spouse. He does, however, make a connection with one woman who, after having sex with her deceased husband, comes back not looking for sex, she's looking for money. Klaus is able to find out where the husband hid the money, and he tells the wife whatever she needs to hear in order to get a brooch, which allows Klaus to escape the basement that Quinn was hiding him in, and he heads to a graveyard to dig the money up, but he's caught by the wife. They're also caught by Quinn, and a shootout takes place. Most people die, except Quinn. He takes the money from Klaus, tells him that this will take care of the debt, but then he throws Klaus in the casket and closes it. And Klaus just thinks this is a joke at first until he can't get out. And then he starts hearing Quinn pour dirt on the grave. At this point, finding Jennifer is pretty low on Klaus's list, but it's the number one priority for Jean and Jean. Using their umbrella effect connections, they take over a King Reg. It's a Burger King, folks. They start using this place as their headquarters, putting out the word to their network to keep an eye out for both Ben or Jennifer or both. And then they get an interesting visitor. They've never met this guy before. It's Cy, although he introduces himself to Jean and Jean as Denny Muntz, and he has the umbrella effect tattoo that proves he's in the network. He claims to be from the Red Deer chapter, which male Jean says never heard of it, but Cy assures him that the chapter is small, but they're all true believers. Male Jean says, "All right, well, what's your business here?" And Cy/Denny says, "I came to talk about the missing girl." And that's the question on everybody's mind. Where are Ben and Jennifer? Well, they're holed up at a place called the Overpass Inn. And they had their first little bit of a lover's quarrel, but as they sit in separate rooms, they're talking through the walls, and there is a real connection there that neither of them can deny. Hell, they're even watching the same movie at the same time. They love it for the same reasons. It gets to the point where that night, the sexual tension is too much. Jennifer comes into Ben's room. They start hooking up. But what they're unaware of is that is having a completely negative effect on the outside. As they bang each other's brains out, energy waves are radiating out of the room and destroying anything in its path, including the poor front desk guy who's probably making $10 an hour.
Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry, it'll be up in a day or two.